Welcome to our YouTube channel, The Handy Horseman. Today, we're going to talk about bits. We're going to talk about the relationship between teeth and bits, a subject that you could talk about till the end of time. You know, they asked me to do a demonstration here a while back at a horse event about bits. And I said, well, to do a presentation about bits is like asking the preacher to do a sermon about the whole Bible. It's just hard to get it all in one sermon, okay? So I can tell you, as it pertains to bits in horses and using a bit to control your horse, it's not about the bit. It's about your hands. It's about suppleness. And it's about that horse understanding to give to pressure and softening his neck and back and hips, legs, a complete unity between rider and horse. If you've got a horse that's pushing against the bit and is stiff in his neck and has to have leverage in order to be controlled, you're on the wrong track. Sorry. And if you've got to have nose bands and all these things to hold his mouth closed and he's fumbling the bit and things are going on, that horse is trying to talk to you. He can't speak English, so his only communication is through his behavior. So he's got something he's doing that you're trying to correct by some gadget or some device, where actually he's saying, ma'am, just soften your hands, please. Or, sir, please don't make that hurt in my mouth. Or, sir, that tastes bad, I don't like it. So you're going to hear me all the time discuss suppleness and discuss making that horse comfortable. Okay? That's all it takes. Get him comfortable. Get him feeling good about what we're doing. And I promise you, if you do that, he'll be waiting at the gate for you in the morning when you go to the barn. But if you're pinching his mouth, or you're pounding on him with a spur, or you're beating on him with a crop, he doesn't want to see you coming. And I don't blame him. So, what we're going to talk about here is just the relationship between all this and the horse's mouth. This is a skull that I use down in my saddle room to try to help people understand this process a little better. All right? So if you want to zoom in, this is a horse skull, a horse that's approximately 3 years old, let's say. This horse has never had his teeth floated or teeth done. So it's a good example to use because he's got all his points and all his places where he'll have pain. So what I want to show you is how this horse gets sharpness on the insides of his mouth. See here on the outsides of these teeth, they're jagged like a serrated knife. See right there? Now, if you'll notice here in the front, there's a little tooth in the front that's a wolf tooth. You hear people talk about that all the time. Well, here at Windy Hill Farm is our practice. When we get a horse in, the first thing we do, we're going to check his teeth. We're going to fix his feet, we're going to fix his teeth, we're going to get him feeling good about himself, and we're going to eliminate pain everywhere we can. Right there. That wolf tooth, job one. Sometimes they get 2, sometimes they get 4. Mostly the stallions or geldings will have more than the mares, but the mares will have them 2, right here at the top. Get you a good dentist, knows what he's doing. Go in there and pull those wolf teeth and take a file. There's special tools for this, and you want to round the fronts of these teeth, the front molars here, and these front teeth, to where when I give pressure on this bit and press down on his tongue, it's not sharp and it's not pinching. And see, he's got points way back here. And he's got teeth yet that still have to come in. until he's 5 years old. So we want to take that file and we want to smooth these inside edges up. And if needed, they need to be contoured or floated, so to speak. But I'm more focused on getting this inside of his mouth, the outside of his mouth, where there's no points. You can walk up to him from the front and take your hands and right up under here and just lightly from the outside go like this. And if your horse comes like this and tries to get away from your hands, that tells us there's a point right here. So if I touch him in the side of his face, he twitches, pulls away, well, it hurts. Well, all right, put a bit in his mouth, start pulling on him, dragging his head around like everybody wants to do. Next thing you know, this is hurting. He's wringing his tail, he's throwing his ears back. Well, he's going to unload you sooner or later. Or he's just so tolerant, he's going to put up with you. And I pity the poor soul. Okay. What you also can do is take your thumb like this, where your thumb points out, go in his cheek and run it up along his teeth. Just be careful. You don't want to stick your finger in over top of his teeth like this, because we all know what's going to happen there. So you want to run your finger up in to check the sharpness of that, okay, and along his tongue. But your dentist will come and he'll open his mouth up with a speculum and he'll get up in there and make sure he gets back in here, gets these top teeth. You know, your veterinary, they don't have a lot of training in dental for a lot of them. So they're just going to come in there and just push a file up in there and say, well, he's eating his grain good, so his teeth are okay. No, that's not the case. That's part of it. If he's not eating his grain right, that means he's got one tooth higher than the other. Or this tooth might have fallen out and this tooth has gotten longer than all the rest of them and he's not chewing his grain right. Whole different subject, okay? What we're talking about here is how to soften your horse and get him to where he likes his bit and he is receptive to your hands. Okay. So, your bit, this is a snaffle bit, like the whole world uses, D-ring snaffle. Now see how that V's in the front when I pull back, when I'm sitting on my horse and I'm riding. See how that comes like that? You zoom in on that? Well, this is going to hit him in the roof of his mouth, and this is going to pinch right in here, okay? And then if you have like what they call a Tom Thumb bit, that is a bit with shanks on it and a curb, when I give him pressure back, that's going to pull down on his tongue like this. So you wonder why he's tossing his head and acting stupid. Well, look what's happening. I'm pushing down on his tongue. I'm pulling up on his chin underneath here. Which, by the way, a horse has got as many nerves underneath his mouth and his chin as he does inside his mouth. But this is where the bit lays, right here. So as you pull back, see how that pinches there? We found that to not be satisfactory. So there's a lot of guys that I've worked with over the years that really know what they're doing as it pertains to all this. And my good friend out in New Mexico, Greg Dutton, I bought bits from for years and still do. Sells a bit similar to this. This is not a Dutton bit. This is a different bit that I have custom made. But Greg Dutton, Frank Alberts up at Alberts Equine Dental has taught me a lot. There's a lot of good people, smart people that know about this that I've learned from. And those are two guys that I believe are geniuses about this. But anyhow, what we learned over the years is that we take a bit like this. This is called a French link. This is nothing new. This was around in the 1700s probably, okay? But look what happens. When I lay that in his mouth, how that lays on his tongue, and that allows me freedom of movement with my hands, okay? And when I give him pressure back, that doesn't pinch right here. It's a very sensitive, sacred place right here. So if I pinch him and make that hurt, that really doesn't encourage him to do better. That just encourages him to resent me in my hands. So I get on my horse and I am working my reins like this. This is his tongue here, okay? So I want to control my horse primarily off his tongue. So when people talk about contact, and we're going to get into all that later, but contact is something to where I don't want to be pulling against these teeth in this bar right here and bone all the time. I want to primarily be controlling him from the corners of his mouth and his tongue the majority of the time. If I have to take a hold of him, that's on special occasions. That's a sacred spot. Okay? Don't overdo that. Because when you hear people say, oh, he's tough-mouthed, he's hard-mouthed. Yep, he is. Because somebody's running around just working those bones right there. Keep that bit up on his tongue. Keep that thing aloft. Keep it in the corners of his mouth. Another thing we do is we adjust that bit to where there's no wrinkle. Just it hangs right there in the corner of his cheek. We used to put 2 wrinkles in there, but finally we kind of decided that that's almost like riding around with your foot on the brake. So adjust that bit correctly. Put that in his mouth to where it's soft and nice. But now in our next videos, we're going to talk about how to condition that horse to soften his poll and soften his neck to where when I take him and give him pressure with my hands in either direction, I want him to softly give and flex and bend his jaw in his poll, his neck, clear through his withers and back. You know, it's been said that if you're doing this right, when I give him a signal with my hand in my rein, I should feel it in my seat. I should feel his back flex as he flexes his jaw on his head. If he's not, your horse isn't supple. Okay? So what we have to do is, with rope in hand, we have to deal with that suppleness. We have to develop that before we get on his back. Okay? We have to soften this horse and prepare him to release from that pressure before we get on his back. I'm not trying to say you bit, I'm just trying to show you the difference in bits, okay? Now, there's as many bits as there are tools in a carpenter's toolbox. And everybody's got one they like better. Everybody in our barn, they've got their bit they like the best. But really what that is that bit that they like, they've trained their hands to. They've trained themselves to, okay? So it's not as important of the bit you use. It's important of the softness and just how you know how to get results from that bit, okay? I don't want it to create pain for him to respond to me, to release himself, to get away from pain. I don't want that. I want him to softly flex his jaw and his neck, okay? I want this to be about softness and suppleness. That's what makes a horse special. That's what makes him a treasure. Now, how foolish would I look if I said to you today, if you go down here to the hardware store, they got a saw that you can buy that'll make the most beautiful furniture in the world. All you got to do is go buy that saw. I'd look real silly if I said that to you today, because you guys are smart enough to know that's not the case. But there's some people that say, you buy this bit right here and you're going to have the fanciest horse in the world. No. Same story, okay? You have to know how to use that tool. That furniture maker, he's got to know how to dry that lumber. He's got to know how to cut that lumber. He's got to know how to put it together. He's got to know how to read the set of plans. He's got to know how to finish it. He's got to know how to sand it. He doesn't start out with the fine sandpaper. He starts out with the rough sandpaper. and he knows when to use what. That's what makes him a craftsman. Well, all these are tools, okay? Spurs, bits, crops, bridles, ropes, halters, everything, a tool. Now use a horseman, just like a craftsman. You got to know what and when to use it. We use spurs. We use these bits like this. That's a tool. There's a certain time and a certain place. Now in our next video, I'm going to get some other bits out here, and I'm going to show you the different bits, and we're going to talk about how I feel of the proper time and the proper purpose for them. So this is a subject that can go on for a long time. And as we proceed through our videos, we're going to keep talking about it, okay? But this is the basic concept, okay? If you look how that bit is formed there to go around the horse's mouth, it's weighted properly. That's sweet iron mouthpiece. That's a brass lozenge in the middle. Well, that's all there for a reason. That's there to enhance his mouth, to salivate, to keep it moist. This metal is very flavorful to him. If you put a bit in his mouth made of aluminum or stainless steel or some type of cast metal, well, that tastes terrible. Go to your kitchen and put a spoon in your mouth out of the drawer. Hold it in there for 5 minutes. Check in with me. Tell me how that tastes. It tastes terrible. Well, this is solid brass. This is sweet metal. He finds that flavorful. So think about all those little things you can do to make his life more pleasant and make him more comfortable. And if you do that, step by step, you're headed in the right direction. I'd like to invite you all to our website, windyhillfarm.net. You can also contact me at thehandyhorseman@gmail.com. If you would like further instruction and private consultation or coaching through Skype, that seems to be the thing of the future. And I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to help folks out. I'm not saying I have all the answers, but I can help you navigate some of this type of thing to where you can get to where you want to go, and we can talk about setting you up a program and a plan and make sure we don't skip any steps and help you obtain some of your goals as a horseman. So once again, thehandyhorseman@gmail.com or windyhillfarm.net. Once again, I'm Ted D. Hass from Windy Hill Farm. Thank you for your time.